when you think about, if somebody's listening to that and they're like, okay, so how do I put that into practice today? Like, what are a few things that they could start doing to start to implement that, like, as soon as their next conversation?
Yeah, I just was so in the training this morning. Um, I did a practice coaching and with a client, and some of the questions that came up were, "What if my client tells me asks me what should I do?" Clients come to me and they say, "Just give me the advice," right? And the same the same question. I mean, it's the same answer to both questions, which is continue to stay curious. Like if someone asks you a question about what should I do, the answer is, where is that question coming from? What's the yearning behind that question? Let's say the answer to that question were found. What would have to shift internally, or who would you need to be in order to accomplish that goal? What's the skill set you feel like is missing the most? What's the hardest thing for you to be with? Like all of these curiosity questions, just allow them to bubble up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the number one thing coaches can do right away is to catch yourself when you normally would judge, oh, this session's going bad, or I'm not doing well, or whatever that internal thing is, to catch yourself in there and just get curious. It's, I go through it too. I still go through it when I'm feeling down. I'm like, okay, I'm feeling down. Why am I feeling down? Do like what? And then sometimes I might have to go back and go, oh yeah, it's that thing. That's, I go back in the day and realize, okay, this is where this is happening, and then get curious about it. And it really is a practice of curiosity. And then that curiosity pretty quickly leads into creativity. And I think that's what we're finding is the act of judgment will shut down creativity very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Like even in the trainer meeting, I roll out a concept, and we all jump off in groups of two and coach each other. It's a way to connect, and it's one of my favorite things. And they come back, and some of the people say, "Well, I went the exact opposite way of the concept," and I could say, "Oh, I could judge myself and go, oh, I'm missing it out. Maybe I didn't describe it well enough, or whatever." But then what they got from it is what they needed to get from it.
Mm-hmm.
And so then there's an element of, okay, I can judge this and feel certain feelings, or I can stay in curiosity and continue to provide value. That's the coaching decision. It's that juncture of I'm going to judge or I'm going to stay in curiosity. There's road work happening, and on our street, and it seems like my daughter has a track meet to get to. She's in districts, and it's a big deal. She's in sixth grade, and we were going to have a delivery happen, but the delivery people just turned around as soon as they saw the roadblock. Bloop, turned around, took off. It's not going to happen. Sadness. And then Moise goes up there and says, "Let me figure this out. What's happening?" She goes and asks the people, and they say, "Oh, no big deal. We can just put this big metal plate over it, and it takes us 30 seconds. Not a big deal. Sorry for the whatever. And that's staying curious. When you see the roadblock, you stay curious, not immediately accept defeat and turn around and just go away. And that's the coaching process. That's what coaches can do. Like right now, the hardest thing in your life. And then you notice how much judgment you have in it. I'm doing it too right now. I'm thinking of the hardest thing. Cool. And then you stay curious. Ask it a question. And then another one. Essentially, the coaching process is someone is there with you, holding your hand, doing that with you. And that's to me is it's beautiful. I feel like it matters. It's a new way of connecting, and I think this is going to be the future of education and human interaction. This will be a part of it. I know it just because it's so fulfilling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool, John. And I love like the things you're talking about too, are we're looking at it from a coach client perspective. but also I hear continuously from coaches in our community how it's transforming their relationships outside of their client coach relationships as well, and bringing this curiosity that you're talking about and empathetic listening into their relationships with their family and their friends, and what happens there too. And so even today, if you're finding like you don't have a client that you're working with, how can you bring this into I mean, you're gonna have a conversation with somebody today, so how do you bring that into that space, and really allow yourself to get to another space with somebody? I just think it's pretty magical even in that, like, some of the conversations I've been able to have with my mom that are just so different now, and that changes, I'm sure, as being an adult now. but when her and I both have more curiosity in our conversations, where we are able to get, as opposed to if we're coming both from this place of already perceived judgment or assumptions or things like that. And sometimes it's just silence too, and like allowing a space after something said to just settle for a second and then be able to think through really what just happened, and then bring a question or bring thought process. And I don't know, so it just made me think of that too. I'm like, man, it, like, the client coach relationship is what we're talking about, but there is a spillover into everything else, every other interaction that we have. And it's really, really cool.
It just keeps going. I mean, that's the thing with curiosity. It gains its own momentum, and it becomes a habit, and it really does filter through all areas of someone's life.
Yeah, it helps you feel seen personally, and it helps somebody else feel seen when we bring
Right.
curiosity. So we see ourselves and we see others with that curiosity.
It's so cool. And I mean, mother parent relationships is some of the hardest stuff to to address sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's not that you're, and I think you have to be careful too sometimes not to approach these relationships like with your coach hat on. That's different than bringing like listening. When I first started the coaching program, I was definitely doing that. I was like, yeah, this is not. I
Yeah.
think my friends want me to be a friend right now.
I think everyone goes through that puppy stage. I know I did. I went through
Mhm.
my coaching puppy stage where I thought, this is amazing. Let me do it. I was teaching at the time, so it was totally like I had captive audiences. It's amazing.
Mhm.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, there's a working through that. That was so good, John.